Okay, we are Mike and Mike. We're live in Houston, site of the Super Bowl. There was no player in the NFL who accounted for more of his own team's offense than our next guest, and there was no player in the NFL who accumulated more yards against the Atlanta Falcons this year than our next guest. From the Arizona Cardinals, David Johnson is here. Hello, David. Pleasure.
So I was saying, Greeny, to him, the first thing that we need to do is apologize.
Well, why would that be?
The beginning of the season, we had the big fantasy special.
Yes.
That went on. There was a fantasy draft that went on.
Yes.
And Bobby Flay, the great chef Bobby Flay, had the first pick. The first pick. And he picked you. And we all mocked him.
You all did.
We did. We all mocked him, and then probably from week 2 on, I took you every week in my DraftKings pick. So we owe you an apology. You were forgetting. I know that's the fantasy part of it. I mean, your year was incredible. So we wanted to apologize for ever denying or thinking that was a bad pick by Bobby Flay.
All right, apology accepted, man.
There you go. Okay.
In the world in which we live today, would you say you hear more from fans about your team's success or their fantasy league's success based upon your performance?
For sure, the fantasy league success, and everywhere I go, no matter where I'm at, I'll be at Target, Walmart, at the mall, at the airport, it's always about fantasy.
Do you play?
No, I do not. I barely even know anything about fantasy football.
Other than everybody picks you.
Yeah,
I mean,
take you. Take you.
Rush for just under 1,300 yards, 80 receptions. As I said, this is you and Le'Veon Bell are the running backs of the NFL. This is what you have to do. You have to rush for those yards and catch the ball out of the backfield like that. And, oh, by the way, 16 rushing touchdowns as well to go with 4 out of the air, so 20 touchdowns. So, obviously, a fantasy dream for people, but obviously for the team and what you do. Now, so you're a third-round pick out of northern Iowa. And so how did this do? Obviously, it wasn't expected. How did this transformation, how did this go for you consistently getting better as you did?
From Northern Iowa?
Yeah.
It's been going good. Learning a lot from guys like you said, Larry Fitzgerald, learning from Carson, getting more comfortable with being in the NFL, learning the playbook because BA's playbook is very tough to learn with all the audibles and stuff. Really just, growing and learning from every play, every game, every snap of practice. And getting better that way.
We just talked to Carson Wentz, who from North Dakota State, and you're
Big
from Northern Iowa. Not the big schools out there. So talk about that transition of what was the biggest difference to you when all of a sudden you're in an NFL training camp with NFL guys and your progression and what you had to improve upon.
The biggest difference really was, the speed of the game, even in practice, getting used to that speed. And then, just the technique-wise and schemes and learning so much more about, plays and advantage with BA. That was really probably the toughest thing is learning all the plays and learning how to do them correctly. And running the routes or doing the runs are way more precise than in college. And, it's more important to set up the runs. And it's so important for my route running at certain yards, 3 or 4 yards. 1 yard can make a big difference. And learning all that stuff.
Yeah, for those who don't know, BA that he's referring to is Bruce Arians, your head coach there in Arizona. He's sort of a legendary figure amongst players who played for him. There's an enormous amount of loyalty, an enormous amount of respect for his offensive acumen. Take us there. Take us into a meeting with him. Take us into those conversations and the role that he played in your transition from being, as Mike says, a kid from Northern Iowa to now being the most productive running back in the National Football League.
Yeah, his role is very important. He was the guy that never sugarcoated anything. He was very blunt with me, and he let me know how he was going to be hard on me from the start because he saw the potential, and that's what he told me. So when I first got there, doing the blitz pickup was very hard for me to learn because of the terminology and the scheme-wise was different than it was for me in college. So that was very hard, and VA was definitely on me, every play, every snap, especially with Carson being in the backfield, protecting him.
So the call, just for those the 99% of us who've never done this and never will, part of that protection, they're giving you an assignment, right? And so you've got the quarterback or whomever it is that's calling the play is telling you this is where to expect the pressure to come from. Now, take me on the field. What if you see it coming from someplace else? What if your team has guessed wrong? You're over here, on the left side, and you see out of your peripheral vision, here comes a safety or someone like that from the other side. What do you do?
So what I'm doing is, first scanning my guy. He'll probably most teams do it. They call out the mic, and depending on my responsibility, I'll either guard, block the mic or the will, and say I see the will coming. He's on the line of scrimmage, but he's kind of faking me out, and then all of a sudden the safety comes from the right. Usually it's a little late, so I'll try to, gather my composure and pick him up as best as I can. But Carson is very good at, especially when I was a rookie, he was able to point out who was coming. He knew that that guy was faking, and he'd be able to call out every guy, and he pointed out while he's doing other things like reading the defense and stuff. So he's very good at communicating with everyone, and especially me, when I was having that rough time of finding out who to pick up.
And that's always the one thing that can get a great back off the field.
Right.
If they can't protect their quarterback.
Yes.
So,
For sure.
and that's the one thing not talked about enough is you can run great, you can pass great, but you better be able to pick up a blitz as well. And I would imagine the learning process you've been talking about with BA and how tough it is, I imagine you get yelled at more in the NFL than you did at Northern Iowa.
For sure. I definitely, especially with BA, I'll get yelled at for even the good things I do. He'll correct some of the, the nitpicky stuff, which is very good.
David Johnson is here. Pro Football Focus rated him the best receiver in the National Football League this year. 80 catches for 879 yards. You talk about Carson Palmer. There was a story that Carson Palmer had put his house up for sale and taken his kids out of school. He has denied that and said there's nothing of the case. Is it your expectation that he will be the quarterback of the Cardinals next year?
Yes, for sure. I never even second thought about him not being there. I know for sure he's probably going to come back.
And Larry Fitzgerald, again, yesterday announcing that he will come back. He's actually going to be on our set this time tomorrow, so we look forward to seeing Larry. He is such an esteemed veteran in the National Football League. So take us to that, what you have learned from Larry Fitzgerald as a young player in the NFL.
I've learned so much from him, not just on the field but off the field, but he's taught me so much of how to run routes. If you watch Larry, he's not running. When I was taught, you run full speed and do your route. He's so precise where he can, run his route so effectively where he doesn't even look like he's running full speed, and he can make his cut so well to get open, and he's still doing it at a high level. And he's also taught me stuff off the field, how to be a professional, how to, dress and be presentable all the time because you're always being watched and you're always trying to brand yourself. So I always wore, sweatpants after a win, and then I'd always be in like my football stuff after a game. And he's told me, let the media wait a little bit, get dressed, look presentable before you go and do interviews.
Wow, that's some great advice. I would have never followed that advice to dress up or anything like
Golick
that.
isn't presentable now.
How about from, Greeny, you brought this up a few times when Zeke Elliott, who had an excellent year, obviously, with the Dallas Cowboys, was running the ball, and you were talking about overuse for a rookie.
Yeah.
So you're a second year. You were just, not like you've been in the league a long time. He had more carries. You were tied for third in carries. He had 322. I think LeGarrette Blount had 299. You and DeMarco Murray had 293. But you had more touches than any of them because Zeke had 32 catches, so he was in the 260s as far as, or 360s. You were with 80 catches and 293, so obviously that's going to be more touches overall for you. How about you? Did you, in a day and age where running backs can get used up and you're early in your career, is there ever a concern of too many touches?
No, not at all. I'm still feeling good. I was learning a lot of ways to keep my body healthy and get rejuvenated each week for getting those carries and getting that workload. And I feel great. I mean, I'm excited for next season, and I'm excited because I feel like I can learn even more, especially at the route running to where I can get more receptions than that. And I'm still learning constantly of how to, keep my body healthy and longevate my career.
You like to juke a guy, run him over, because I've seen you do both. But you seem to like to drop a shoulder.
Yeah, I can do them both. It really doesn't matter to me, whichever way he looks like he's going to try to tackle me. I really just trying to get those yards.
So I guess if I'm getting this right, you would juke him and truck me.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Mike and David Johnson. Okay, so let's preview the Super Bowl. No player had more yards from scrimmage in a game against the Falcons this year than you did with 161. So very simply, what is the key to success against Atlanta's defense?
They are young and fast defense. You know what worked well with me was coming out of the backfield. I think I had like a 90 or some yards receiving. So I think they're going to have to use Lewis and have him split out or do anything like that to try to get him open as a receiver.
Is that – I think this is the matchup du jour in the NFL now is defenses. It's a league of adjustments through the years of what teams do, and now it's back like yourself. And in this game, it's Lewis and White, it's Coleman and Freeman who can do damage out of the backfield for both teams. So it's matchups. Yeah. Is there a linebacker that can – I mean, I know you don't think, but is that what we need to see in the NFL, that defenses are going to have to get linebackers with the ability to cover so it doesn't have to be a safety, and that's the next big matchup in the NFL?
I think there really is because, we utilize that a lot, especially if there's a linebacker guarding me. And if it was working out, we do it as much as we can until they stopped it. And usually that's what they would have to do is put a safety on me. So I feel like it's really going to come down to, getting those linebackers that aren't as big, the 250s, more so getting the 235 linebackers that can cover. Can
you keep a poker face when there's a linebacker on you and you become giddy inside knowing that Carson sees that, you see that, and know about what's going to happen?
I try my best to keep a poker face or not try to telegraph what I'm doing with the, big wide open eyes or looking where I'm going and stuff because, that's when I see who's guarding me and it's some guy I think I can, outrun or get open, I definitely get very excited, anticipated, and get ready to get open.
Because Carson's seeing the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And then a final thought for David Johnson. It feels like it was 5 years ago, but you played the Patriots in the opening game of this season. So, to the best of your recollection, give us the scouting report on that New England defense.
Very good defense. That was a tough defense for me to read, to try to figure out what they were doing because of Bill Belichick and his way to change up who's guarding me. Sometimes I thought a linebacker was guarding me and then all of a sudden a safety or vice versa. Even a DN with an outside linebacker would end up coming out and guarding me. So I feel like you're really just going to have to out-scheme him and do the best. And they have the running backs definitely do it, Devontae and Tevin. And I feel like they're going to just have to pound it and, get the yards necessary and, really get as much as they can receiving and running the ball.
Well, every team in the NFL, of course, is trying to disguise what they're doing defensively. Do they do it better than everyone else?
They do it very well. They do it very well. It's probably one of the toughest defenses that I've played against this year.
All right. Listen, it was a joy to watch you play.
Yeah, it really was.
To say congratulations on a magnificent season, and thank you for coming by
Absolutely.
here today.
Thank you for
David Johnson of the Arizona Cardinals.